Well, I mean, if I can get the headsets working, we're off, you know?
Why don't you use the one that's like right in front of you?
It's the adapter. It's not the equipment.
Okay.
I switched adapters, and by switched, I mean lost the other one and had to find a new one.
I am so surprised by that. I really am. Although it's not a you thing, it's a lot of people thing.
Yeah, no, these adapters go missing regularly, and it's like, hey, you held on to yours for the better part of a year. That's awesome. I didn't, so yours is mine now. Welcome to radio, kids.
Yeah, you need to learn to hide things better. That's all I'm saying. You shouldn't have to.
And stop trusting coworkers.
Yeah,
what a major mistake that is.
Trust is earned, and it wasn't me. Because trust me, I have a bunch of those. But I'm not telling you where they are.
In case somebody takes one of mine. Hello, ladies and gentlemen. The Rob Brown Show's on the radio. This is the Fan Upstate. How do you do, folks? Great to be with you. I am Rob Brown. The pleasure exclusively ours, because that other sultry, seductive voice you hear coming over your radio and telephone speakers belongs to the great one, the alpha and the omega of the Fan Upstate, Colonel Grudge, #DadKicks, the professor of perfection, the great one, Lonzo, is at the helm. What up, Zoe?
Hey, girl. How you doing?
Not as good as the Kansas Jayhawks, #segue. Rock Chalk Jayhawk, the 1 seed in what was a remarkable basketball game last night. North Carolina with a 15-point lead at the half, and they 28-3'd it. Ladies and gentlemen, gave it away to the Kansas Jayhawks, who win 72-69 last night in the most cardiac-trying way of doing so. Kansas decided, well, you know, completing the largest ever comeback in an NCAA championship basketball game isn't enough. Let's make it really dicey at the end. What do you say? Let's get real weird at the end. And they most certainly did. Most certainly did. How about that? How about the North Carolina Tar Heels having an opportunity at a game-tying 3 late and airballing it? Look, it's real simple for Carolina. Brady Manick was catching Scott Hall elbows to the dome for the duration of that game. I am stunned that he was not removed from the basketball court to go into concussion protocol, and I'm not joking.
Yeah, especially after that first one. I mean, that was, and they said it was a basketball move, which it was. It absolutely was. But man, he took one. It just, and he had that dazed look on his face. He kind of looks that way anyway, but I mean, beneath the beard and all that stuff.
Somebody referred to him as a background character on Ozark, and I could not stop laughing at it.
I haven't watched that, but I could see him in some sort of.
Just understand it takes place in the backwoods of Arkansas. I feel like that's all you need to know.
Okay, all right. Or like one of my neighbors. I mean, you know.
Yeah. He looks like a background character on the Wrightsville compound. He looks like he lives behind the tree line from Zoe's place.
Yeah, that guy that's always lurking back there. You're not quite sure who he is, but you're okay with it as long as he stays on his side of the fence.
Yeah. We have this understanding that I don't come on your property, you don't murder me, we'll call it even, yeah? Brady Manick took a nasty shot to the dome early in that game, and the worst part of it, aside from the potential light concussion that he suffered, was when he came down, Lonzo, straight down onto the coccyx, straight down onto the tailbone, which if you have ever done that, if you have ever landed flush on the seat from a handful of feet up in the air, and that tailbone hits the ground first and then compresses that spine, I'm going to tell you straight up, I don't care what you say, I don't care how tough you are, I don't care how Billy Badass you see yourself as. When you land on the tailbone and that spine compresses onto itself, it will wreck you for a little while.
And sometimes for life, because I have a herniated disc right there where I had a similar thing happen to me. So I actually know how that feels. It's not wonderful.
Yeah. Yeah. It's real simple. You get that back and press like that, it's going to mess with you for a while. And I think it was relatively clear that late in the game, the legs gave out for the Tar Heels, right? Late in the game, it was just a fatigue situation for Carolina. And I don't know if it was because they put everything they had into the Duke game. I don't know if it was because they were just tired. I don't know what the situation was, but the legs were gone. Baycott's legs were gone. Manick's legs were gone. Love's legs were gone. The later we got into the game, the more Carolina shots were hitting the front of the rim, and that's it, right? The energy it requires to drive to the rack was there at the back end of the first half for Carolina, right? Kansas came out, threw their best shot early. Kansas came out, threw their best shot early, got it out of the way. North Carolina absorbed that opening shot, went on a run of their own, and ended up throwing a haymaker back that Kansas didn't know how to respond to. But as we got deeper into the second half, Carolina stopped getting to the rack on the dribble drives. The penetration was gone. The game became ball movement, ball movement, ball movement, jump shot, and the jump shots were coming up short. The second thing that made it evident that Carolina just flat out ran out of gas, and I don't think you can talk about it too much. In the first half, Carolina had, if I recall correctly, 18 points off of second chance opportunities. 18 points Carolina had by getting their own rebounds and trying again. That is game-changing basketball. As a basketball fan, you young kids out there, you middle school players, you high school players, listen to Uncle Rob for just a minute. Offensive rebounds don't get you the glory that you want, all right? Very rarely does anybody make the front page of the newspaper because they brought down 8 offensive boards. But if winning is more important to you, clean the offensive glass like your career depends on it. You know what offensive glass is in the basketball world? Lonzo, when I was growing up and I started playing guitar, and my old man, you know, when I told my old man I wanted to play guitar, and I asked him to buy me a guitar. And he's like, all right, let's talk about it, right? Because guitars ain't cheap for good quality stuff. Let's talk about it. So we had a conversation about getting a guitar. And he said 2 things to me. He said, number 1, why do you want to play guitar? And I said, A, for the chicks, Dad. And B, because I want to be in a band. It seems like being in a band is awesome. And he said, if you want to be in a band, you need to learn how to play bass guitar. And I said, yo, what? I didn't say yo, what to my father at like 15 years old, but you get the point.
Yo, what's up, Pops?
I said, yo, what's up, Dad? What's up, Pops? Run that by me again. Pop said, if you want to be in a band, you need to learn bass guitar. And I said, Dad, nobody wants to play bass guitar.
Yeah, but everybody needs a bass player.
Bingo. Exactly what he said. I said, Dad, bass guitarists aren't famous. Ready, Lonzo? Name me all the bass guitarists that you know that's not Flea.
Stanley Clark.
All right, Lonzo's in a band, so it doesn't count. But he knows one. John Entwistle played bass.
From The Who, yeah.
Geddy Lee actually played bass for Rush.
And keyboards.
And keyboard. Gene Simmons played bass for Kiss. But think about it. All the bassists you know are also the lead vocalist of their band.
All right, Stanley Clark is different because I don't know if you know who Stanley Clark is, but he's a very famous bassist, and he does bass solos and stuff like that. But my cousin, who's a bass player, who I grew up with, big Stanley Clark fan, that's how I know who Stanley Clark is.
There you go. I did not.
You would love him, by the way.
I think Bootsy Collins played bass. But the point is, that's like 4 or 5. Now think of how many bands exist. Lonzo and I collectively as music people can come up with like 5 bassists.
By the way, I think Kip Winger played bass.
I think you might be right, actually.
If I recall, though, the story is he had to have someone play bass on tour because he couldn't sing and play bass at the same time.
Trust me, that struggle's real. But the point is, as my old man pointed out, if you want to be in a band, learn bass, right? Because every band needs a bassist, and a great bassist lays down the foundation for your sound. He said, I don't care how good you get, there will always be a million guitarists better than you. And that's true, right? It doesn't matter how good you get, there will always be a million guitarists better than you. And unless your band is really tight, the first time that somebody better than you rolls up into the studio and goes, I want to be in the band, you're out. But if you become a great bassist, bassists don't roll up into the studio regularly, and every band needs a bassist.
And your drummer will fight for you if you're a good bass player. Like, no, he needs to stay.
Bassists are the offensive rebounders of the basketball world, right? A good basketball team must clean up the offensive glass. It is the foundation of the game. Second chance opportunities. Early in the game, Carolina was getting all of them. That's your base. Nailed it. That's what an offensive rebound sounds like. Carolina was getting all the offensive rebounds. They had the good bass groove. And what happened? The rhythm of that game was dictated by Carolina because they had a good bass groove going. By the way, Lonzo, I came up with this analogy on the fly. That's how good I am at this job. Anyway.
I mean, I'm not surprised.
It's perfect, though,
yeah,
isn't it?
No, it's great.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's perfect. It's a perfect analogy. You will find no flaws in it at all. It's amazing.
It's what I'd expect from an award-winning program.
I mean, you won the award, but I do have it.
It's a we thing, dude.
I'm award having. Anyway, Carolina set the tone. They set the rhythm of that basketball game earlier because they cleaned up the offensive glass, got second chance opportunities, and made Kansas try to play catch up. In the second half, the legs were gone for the Heels. They were fatigued. They were tired. They were run. You could see it. The injuries started to kick in. Guys started going down. Love was hurt. Baycott was hurt. You could see it. And when all of that happened, because the legs were gone from the University of North Carolina, Kansas ended up dictating the terms of engagement. And when the Jayhawks took over the terms of engagement, they also took over the scoreboard. The difference was they had more control of it late. And in having more control of it late, they were able to dictate the last 2 minutes. Carolina still had a chance. But when they needed it most, their legs were gone. Kansas had run them enough that the fatigue set in and the legs were gone. And that's why Love shot the three-pointer to tie the game in force OT, came up 3 inches short because the legs were gone. It's really that simple. Now, I don't know if Carolina went too hard in the first half and just left it all out in the court, but left it all out too early. I don't know if that was the fatigue of the Duke game catching up with them. I don't know if that was the fatigue of the Duke and the Baylor game and the other tough games Carolina had played and having to make a solid run as an 8 seed. I don't know why they were as fatigued as they were, but they very clearly were. We're going to talk more about this later on in the show. Other things coming up on the show today. I got to tell you, we've been talking about the decision-making processes of the Carolina Panthers the last couple of seasons. This offseason's gone relatively well. Not great, but relatively well. There is another NFL team out there whose owners admitted that they didn't know what they were doing when they bought the team. We're going to make fun of that just for a little bit. We talked about Dan Snyder earlier this week being under investigation. Turns out he's under investigation for the one thing that you can't do in the NFL, and it might be the straw that breaks the camel's back for Dan Snyder. We're going to talk about that. Tiger played another practice round yesterday and looked good doing it. I'm thinking more and more Tiger's going to play. Later on in the show, I'm going to tell you why. If he can, he should. And coming up at 11:30 a.m., we are going to talk with a wrestling legend. We are going to talk with an icon. We are going to talk to the Enforcer. Coming up at 11:30 this morning, 1/4 of the original Four Horsemen will join us here on the show when the great Arn FREAKING Anderson joins us right here on the Rob Brown Show in the Fan Upstate. Yes, Lonzo, that Arn Anderson.
Is he bringing the Glock? I don't know. We'll have to ask him and see.
Love it. Arn Anderson joining us at 11:30 a.m. So if you're a wrestling fan, make sure you're here for that.
Gonna have to ask him what he thinks about the Glock chants.
I mean, he did it to himself.
Yeah, because we witnessed them firsthand, and they're out there for sure.
Arn, a couple of months ago, Arn almost got taken out by COVID. Like, Arn was laid up in bed for months and was hallucinating, could not eat or drink anything. Scary. And not only did he bounce back, he came out at the Dynamite that Lonzo and I went to last Wednesday. Got one of the loudest pops in the building. I would argue only behind Zoe, Paul the Big Show White of Columbia, South Carolina, and Tony freaking Schiavone, which, by the way, will be on the show either tomorrow or Thursday as well. How about that?
You know why these guys are going to be on, by the way? Because they're going to be live at South Carolina Comic-Con on the 9th and 10th, Saturday and Sunday, and at the Greenville Convention Center, and you can actually go meet them yourself. You could do that.
mean, you can't do an interview with them. That's why you got to hang out with us.
Well,
but you
there's
can go
that.
say hi.
You can go. You can go meet them and get a picture taken, get an autograph. That
You
type
probably
of thing.
conduct a one-question interview. Like, think of your one question for Arn Anderson before you get there. If you have a question for Arn Anderson, however, send it to us. You can text it to us on the Preferred Home Services text line at 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N. We'll read them on the air. Or write down your question to ask Arn. Can also tweet them to us at The Rob Brown Show, at Lonzo on Word on Twitter. If you got a question for Arn the Enforcer Anderson, hit us with it. We'll ask him when we interview him at 11:30. Quick break. We are back after this. I am Rob. He is Lonzo. And you are listening to the South Carolina Broadcasters Association Sports Talk Radio Show of the Year. This is the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. And we're back. We'll see, Stephen. We'll see. See, I've tried to keep those questions to South Carolina people, right? Like guys that play at South Carolina, Clemson, Panthers, et cetera, et cetera. But we might have to ask Arn. See, you got to ask that to the South Carolina people because it's the South Carolina folks that say that chili comes on a hot dog by default and are wrong. It's kind of like, Mark always makes the point of in 49 other states, if you say Carolina, they mean North Carolina, right? In 49 other states, a hot dog is a hot dog and a chili dog is a chili dog. So it's kind of pointless to ask people from not South Carolina if chili comes on a hot dog. Yep, they were having fun in Kansas last night.
Where'd they get that cart from, I wonder?
It's a buggy, Lonzo. Courtney and I got in a fight about that the other day at the grocery store because she said, I got to get a buggy. And I was like, a what? A shopping cart? She's like, no, it's a buggy.
My kinfolk from Kentucky call it a buggy. So it might be a Southern thing. I don't know. Well, I'm going to have to pull the first segment off the skimmer because I forgot to hit record. Lovely.
Happy Sinuses Day.
Yay. Someone is commenting on your jersey.
This is actually an Ice Flyers jersey, Carter, the new team. And your boy got personalized.
Some people could say, yeah, sure you did. Brown's like a common name, but Rob did, of course. Of course you did.
I did. And when I also got one from the one from the Swamp Rabbits here in Greenville that I got customized. But see, because of exactly what Lonzo just said, when they asked me here what I wanted put on it, I said Rob Brown.
There you go.
The whole name.
There you go. So there's no questioning.
Yeah.
No doubt in anyone's mind.
Right. When I used to work for the Ice Flyers, I was their in-arena PA host. And so they hooked me up with a customized jersey for when I was doing that. And they said, what do you want on it? I said, just Brown. They wouldn't change the number for me because this jersey was actually a game-worn jersey. So they hooked me up with a game-worn jersey, which was dope. But I asked if I'd change the number, and they were like, all right, dude, like, settle down. But they were like, we'll put your name on it. And they said, what do you want? I said, well, Brown is good. So when I got here, because of the number of people that said just that, oh, yeah, I'm sure you got your name on it, I did. But when I got here and they asked me what, Swamp Rabbits asked me what, I was like, put the whole name and number 3 on it.
Speaking of names, what happened to our name across the bottom of the screen? I can't.
It's there. I just have Carter's comments covering.
No, it's not. I'm not talking about the websites. The names that we put up there. Do you see it? Because I don't.
Oh, you're right.
Yeah, and I can't fix it.
You in a trance mood today, Zoe?
Yeah, we at the rave, yo.
I'm feeling it. Feeling it.
This is called When the Sinners Go Marching In. I don't know why, we have a service. Odyssey has a service called Alpha, and there are thousands of music beds in there. And I think there's just one dude sitting over in the corner that names stuff. Just one guy.
I mean, I don't know.
Because at first you think maybe this is a version of when the Saints go marching in or something, and it's not. I mean, not even loosely. It's not.
Hey, whatever. I'm here for it.
I'm about ready to break out the glow sticks, though.
Rob Alonzo with you here on a beautiful upstate Tuesday. I mean, a Tuesday afternoon in the upstate. On the fan upstate.
It's not afternoon, but it's okay. And then he actually had to look at the time to see. We're still adjusting to the new schedule and what time we're actually here.
I'd just like to point out I have not gotten the station name incorrect this week.
Yeah, but now you're going to jinx yourself.
I am now going to do so. Tactical cough button.
Very,
deployed.
very tactical.
Arn Anderson coming up at 11:30 this morning. Make sure you're here for that. That's going to be great. How about this cat, Lonzo? It's Lent, which Lent is the 40 days between Mardi Gras Day and Easter, which is April 17th this year. Same day as Bristol, NASCAR racing on dirt, which we'll talk about here in a minute. But before I get to that, Lent, and I grew up Catholic, formerly Catholic, grew up Catholic, and Lent, during the 40 days of Lent, you sacrifice something. You give up something that's big in your life, right? So, like, most people will do sweets, or they'll do sodas, or they'll do cussing, or they'll give up something that they do a lot in their life for that 40 days. How about this cat? Lonzo Del Hall is a Cincinnati native. He has taken the Christian observance of Lent, where people usually make a sacrifice of things like chocolate or soda, and has decided instead that for his 40 days of sacrifice, he is going to give up food, and for that 40 days has been on a liquid diet consisting only of beer for 40 days. 40 days of nothing but beer and water for the 40 days. He said, as he nears the end of it, that, quote, "It's a way to get back into a healthy mindset, to look at food in a healthy way. I decided I'm going to turn this into a beer diet to show people you can use beer in a healthy way and not vilify it as this evil alcohol. We're in it for the artistry, the love and passion of beer. I'm not into it just to get drunk," end quote. Hall was asked about the types of beer and how he's doing it. He said, "If I'm in the mood for something sweet, I'll drink a milk stout or a pastry stout. If I want something fruity, I'll drink one with raspberries in it. There's so many things that can fill your cravings when you're hungry," end quote. And Del Hall says that not only has he not been drunk during the 40 days, but he has thus far lost 25 pounds on the beer-only liquid diet.
Yeah, Del, that happens when you don't eat food. Yeah, that's a normal byproduct. When you don't eat food, you lose weight.
Hall said he decided to take this beer diet challenge to raise money for the Ken Anderson Alliance, a nonprofit that provides opportunities for adults with disabilities. Says that his goal is to raise $25,000 in total by the end of the all-beer diet, which will end on April 24th with a Cincinnati pub crawl. He said, "I have a 15-year-old daughter who has cerebral palsy. Even though she's a juvenile now, she'll be an adult with a disability. The Ken Anderson Alliance is an amazing foundation that supports adults with disabilities. I feel like someday my daughter will want to use these services that Ken Anderson provides," end quote. He's done this once before, back in 2020, before the COVID-19 pandemic hit its peak. He did the all-beer diet, lost 50 pounds, and raised over $10,000 for the Ken Anderson Alliance. I made a donation before the show because respect, Del Hall, you have mine.
Did he put the weight back on before he decided to do it again? I'm just curious. When he actually started eating food again?
I would assume so. Because if not, he's lost over these 3 challenges he's taken about 120 pounds.
See, this is a smart move, and I am not. His heart is in the right place, I'm sure. But you put it around charity, then you can get away with drinking for an entire month.
I mean, again, dude's been doing it for a good cause. I got no issue with it. I don't think my man's showing up to work hammered or anything.
We don't know that, though. Just some people.
I mean, he says, "I've not been drunk."
Yeah, but I don't know personally, but do you know if you're drunk? Because if you do know, then why are we having all these PSAs everywhere saying, don't drive while drunk and all that?
I mean, the answer is yes, you do.
Okay.
The answer is yes, you do. The reason we have the PSAs is because, yes, we do, and people decide to do dumb things anyway.
I'm just saying, if you want to try this, go to the boss and tell him that you're going to just, do that for a month, and we'll see how often you're on the air. I'm just curious about that. So, what job does he work that he gets away with this? Bet he's a bartender.
I was gonna say he works in a brewery.
Yeah, or a brewery.
I don't know if he does or not. I'm just saying, we got a lot of craft breweries around this area. If any of y'all would like to sponsor a Rob Brown 40-day beer diet challenge, I'll ask the boss if I can get signed off on that.
There's no way that Bob, that was his name, Bob, right? I think Dell. Okay, Dell, Bob, doesn't matter. There's no way he comes to work and doesn't smell like beer. And there's no way that an employee doesn't go, "Hey man, Dell smells
Lonzo,
having
like beer. A beer doesn't turn you into a guy who smells like a brewery. It's not, you don't just have a beer and then suddenly become a hobo with a bag tied to a stick over your shoulder.
So you are trying to paint me with a picture that I'm not painting.
You just said he's gonna smell
brush,
like beer.
Rather.
If he has a beer at breakfast, a beer at lunch, a beer at dinner, he is not going to smell like beer.
That's all he's drinking. And that's all he's doing. That's coming through his pores. There's no way.
Also, all you eat for lunch is Subway subs. You don't smell like a sandwich shop.
Probably smell like onions, and I apologize for that. But anyway, because
All right, so let me ask you another question relating to this, but not. Bristol is on Easter Sunday this year. Right? April 17th, Bristol runs, and it's on dirt again. So we got a short track race, which is already the best NASCAR race, and it's on dirt, which means that the already chaotic short track racing of NASCAR, now the boys are going to be sliding into and out of turns, but it is on Easter Sunday. Now, I am not a religious dude. Easter Sunday is still a big family holiday for, the Lady Friends family. The Lady Friends family is doing Easter Sunday dinner, lunch, brunch, Brinner, whatever you call it. What's the one, Lonzo, that you eat at like 2:30 in the afternoon? It's not dinner, but Brinner. It's treated as if.
Brinner?
Yeah, Brinner's breakfast foods
Brinner?
for dinner.
I don't, it's Brinner.
Yeah, breakfast at dinner. Brinner.
This is breakfast at dinner.
Yeah,
why is that? Why does everything have to be?
Same reason we have brunch, breakfast at lunch.
Okay.
What do you call the meal that you eat at like 3 in the afternoon? It's treated like a big dinner, but it's so early it's not dinner.
Let me consort with my Hobbit guide to the actual name of that meal. I'm not quite sure.
Right. Well, there's breakfast and then there's second breakfast. Have you tried second breakfast? But then you eat again on Easter Sunday. Everybody sits down at the table for the big meal at like 3 in the afternoon. That's not dinner. Is that what is referred to as supper?
Well, if
or
you have
that dinner and supper's late?
If you have 11sies, then maybe you have 2sies.
I don't know. They always call it Easter dinner, but I'm like, guys, it's 3 in the afternoon. Not only is this not dinner, I'm going to catch a nap and then come back for more. This is not dinner.
Well, most holidays have an all-day meal. There really is no. It's when it's done, you start eating, and then you don't stop until
the
next day.
You're ready to
Absolutely,
die.
You graze, you sleep for a while, you come back, graze some more.
You put on some more comfortable pants, and you try again.
Well, you come with them comfortable pants.
All right. So here's my question. I would very much like to attend the dirt track race at Bristol this year. All right, but it's on Easter Sunday. The lady friend has family dinner. And she gave me, Lonzo, when I said, how would you feel if on Saturday afternoon I bailed out and headed to Tennessee after my show Saturday? I drove to Bristol, because it's like 4 hours from here. I drive to Bristol Saturday night. I stay there Saturday night. I go to the race at Bristol on Sunday, and I drive back after the race. How do you feel about that? And what I got was, well, that's Easter Sunday, and the family's going to do Easter dinner. And I said, right, but we do that every year. Bristol on dirt is a bucket list thing for me, and this is my chance. And the response that I got, Lonzo, was, I guess just do whatever you want. Now, I know that that definitely does not mean just do whatever you want, right? That's not what it means. But I'm also probably stupid enough to go to the race and then come back and go, but you told me to do whatever I wanted. And I did what I wanted. I listened to what you said, and I did what I wanted to do. So, Lonzo, on a scale of 1 to 10, knowing that Bristol on dirt is a bucket list item for me, and that this might be my only chance to make it happen, how big of a bad guy am I, scoreboard 1 to 10, if I decide to skip family Easter dinner to drive over to Bristol and go to this NASCAR race in a working capacity?
Family members older?
Yeah, not like deathbed old, but, you know, they're her parents.
Older as in, here's the thing. If you were...
Older like this is not our last Easter dinner.
Right. Well, anyhow.
Barring tragedy.
Anyhow, if you were a decade into the relationship, I would say go for it.
Yeah.
But when you're early on in a relationship and you're getting this is a test. That's what this is. This is it's I don't want to say a test of love, maybe a test of loyalty. I don't know. It's a test. I can't tell you how to take the test. I can tell you how to fail the test. And the first step to the test would have been, don't talk about it on the radio. But,
Oh, she's not listening. She's at work.
Okay.
I'm clear right now.
You're right.
Unless one of you narcs tells her about it.
You're right. It's not like this show isn't everywhere.
Yeah. Unless one of you narcs tells her about it, she won't know. Right? We've had plenty of conversations about her on the air that she's never been enlightened by.
She just happened to get in the car to go get coffee for everybody right at this precise moment.
Don't get me wrong. I understand that I am walking into a trap that I have set for myself, right? Like I set the bear trap and then just jam my leg down into it. I understand that, but I open up the book for you guys on the air, and I need your thoughts.
Sometimes
I need your thoughts.
Sometimes macho gets in the way, and that's what you got to be careful with.
I don't think this is macho. This is.
I get the bucket list thing. I do get that. I get that. But
if this was Charlotte, no question, I'm going to Easter dinner. If this is Atlanta, no question, I'm going to Easter dinner. If this is any other race on the circuit, with maybe the exception of like the Daytona 500, which will never be on a holiday, it's in February. If it's with almost no other exceptions on the circuit, this is the one that I'm like, I don't know that they're ever going to run this race on dirt again, right? It was great last year. If it's anything short of great this year, they may very well go, yeah, we tried it, we liked it, it was fun, but the boys want to go back to asphalt. And this might be my last shot. And as I told her, I've told you guys, I have 2 massive regrets in the world of sports in my life. Number 1 is that I never went to Old Yankee Stadium before they knocked it down for a Yankees game. I will never forgive myself for that. And number 2 is when the Saints played in the Super Bowl, I did not go to the Super Bowl. And I will regret that till my dying day, right? Now, this is not on that level. This is not on the level of, yeah, exactly, I know. This is not on the level of Old Yankee Stadium. This is not on the level of my team's first ever Super Bowl in history. But it's a bucket list. There's no guarantee they lay dirt down ever again at Bristol, and it might be my one shot. Is it worth it to pass up on Easter dinner and go to the race instead? I don't know. Texter says, fan, this is work related. Oh, it absolutely is, for the record. Like, that is not a joke. I would absolutely be covering it for the fan upstate. But also, the reason my job's awesome is I have the responsibility to cover events that I want to go to anyway. So it works out great for me. Texture says, fan, you better do it. If not, you set a bar of what you have to do from here on. That's my other thought, right? Because if I give this up, then the next time a sporting event I really want to go to comes around and it falls on another thing, I have now set the bar of, family dinner is more important than my job / sporting event that I want to go to, right? I have given that.
Or you have shown that because of love, you're willing to compromise and give up something that you really want to do to prove your love for that person.
I've already done that. I watch about 75% of the sports that I want to watch on a regular basis. Because we have other stuff playing.
That's not a one-time thing. It's not I've already done
so what's
that.
The other compromise?
This continues throughout.
So what's the compromise the other way? She can't give up one family dinner for me to go to a sporting event? I'm at all the other ones.
It's Easter, dude.
And?
Yeah.
I'll be at Thanksgiving. I'll be at Christmas. I'll be at 4th of July barbecue. I'll be at all of them. Why is it this one that sets the hard line? Back after this on the Rob Brown Show. Rob Lonzo, this is the Fan Upstate.
Carter has thrown out the entire Hobbit thing, so what you're talking about
breakfast 7 a.m.
is afternoon tea.
9 a.m. 11's at 11. Luncheon at 1. Afternoon tea at 3. Dinner at 6. Supper at 9. Yeah, but like on Easter, the 3 p.m. is a meal. It's not afternoon tea, or is that just what you call it? Despite the fact that there is a full dinner. I do respect I respect it this much. If Carter researched the Hobbit eating schedule, I respect it this much more if he hasn't memorized. For the record.
Normally I would have been able to quote it, but it's not. Although I'm guessing that when the weather breaks and the rain actually starts, my head will start feeling better. Ah, there we go. Awesome. Give me one of those.
Oh, I love it.
Yeah.
I love it. Carter says he's got the Hobbit food schedule on a plaque in the kitchen. Mucho respect for that.
Source free agent DB Tyrann Mathieu, I never can say that right, is heading into the Saints facility for a visit.
Say that again?
Honey Badger.
Tyrann.
I got the first one. It's the Mathau. But I think Walter Mathau for some reason. Because of course they look just alike, but no.
Now I want to see a Honey Badger post-game interview, but with his accent.
Wow. Yeah, that'll put you in a food coma probably. As long as unless you keep your meals small.
I gotta tell you, I have never learned my lesson about, stop eating. Like, just stop. Like, I know the food's delicious, but you were gonna be in pain in about 30 minutes. And every year I end up on the couch just like, I hate myself. Just hate myself.
Yes, the breathing is very important because it's not easy to do.
There's no cure for it but time.
But depending on the day, then you may get right up and do it again. So.
Or there's no charge. Call 864-3
According to IGN, Wordle was the second most discussed game on Twitter. I wonder what
I have no doubt. What's number one?
I don't know. I got to click on it now, which means, they did their
Elden Ring,
job.
it's got to be, right?
No, Genshin Impact is the most discussed game. And no, I don't know what that is, but it sounds like Elden Ring was only the 7th most discussed game for that period.
I got to tell you, I've seen significantly less Elden Ring discussion than I had. I think you've weeded out the people who think it's too hard to enjoy.
Yeah, I'll beat it someday.
Speed running the first hour today, man. Just blazing through. How about it? Rob Alonso with you here on the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. Thanks for joining us. Thanks for hanging out. Got a couple of texts on my last segment's discussion. But I got to scroll through. Let's see. Texter says, Fan, I've been happily married for 10 years, and I don't go to events with her family I don't want to go to. Look, there's very little I don't want to do. And I think that's the problem. Like, the thing that's frustrating for me is there's not much that she wants to do that I don't want to do. You know what our plans were Saturday morning, right? Because I knew Saturday was busy. I had a men's Final Four game. I had a Greenville Triumph home match. We had WrestleMania night 1. Like, I knew Saturday night was just all sports starting at like 7 o'clock for me. So Saturday morning, you know where I was at about 9 a.m., Lonzo? Lowe's in the gardening department. So that's where my Saturday morning was.
It was probably fairly crowded, too.
It was friggin' packed.
Yeah, especially this time of year on Saturday morning.
My Lord, was it packed.
We're talking parking way out near restaurants, depending on where the Lowe's that you go to is.
It was freaking packed. But that's where I was, because that's what she wanted to do. So we did it. And then we left there. And then we went to the farmer's market. And then we left there. And we went to the gardening store. Then we went home. Then we went back to Lowe's for more stuff. Then we came home. Then I dug holes in the backyard for her to put plants in. And I enjoyed it because I like spending time with her. But there's like one day of all these days that I'm like, I'll do anything you want, including hanging out with your family. I like her family. They're all great people. I like them. But there's one day I'm like, can I not spend one day with your family and go to this race? And it's like, it falls on a special dinner day. So, no. Man, it's just rough, right?
Well, I think also there's something underneath that you're not touching on that makes it a little more touchy. The fact that it's a religious holiday and you don't seem to care that it's a religious holiday.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I'm not a religious dude, so no, it's like, all right, I get it, but it's dinner. It's the dinner part of it, right? Like, there's no.
But I mean, it almost would look like that you're avoiding it because of that reason.
No, I'm avoiding it because there's a NASCAR race.
Yeah,
I have done this holiday. I've done all the holidays.
I am. Good for you.
Yeah.
I'm just throwing angles out there.
Yeah, I get it. I've done all the holidays. And since my family's 8 hours from here, I've done all the holidays with her family. I'm like, this is one. Am I a bad guy for going to the race instead? That's my question. Texter says, imagine that. The pampered 1%er wants his cake and eat it too. I do like cake. Texter says, I think we all need to know how Arn Anderson feels about Duke's mayonnaise. Of course. Of course. Another texter says, Rob, failure of an interview if you don't ask him what comes on a standard hot dog. See, I don't, that's not a good question for people outside of South Carolina.
Yeah, and we have limited time, although Arn has spent quite a bit of time in South Carolina. So, I mean,
Sure, grew up in the territories.
This is horseman country. So, I mean,
Do we ask him?
I don't know. I think we have a limited window. We have a lot of stuff that we need to ask.
That's what I'm saying. This is a career highlight interview for Lonzo and I, right? A career highlight interview. So I don't want to take 3 minutes on hot dog toppings when, Mark Ryan gets in trouble all the time because he says, and he's right, in 49 other states, if you say Carolina, people assume you mean UNC, right? Or if in 49 other states, if you say USC, they immediately think SoCal, not South Carolina.
Yeah, but I disagree with him there. No surprise. I bet in Georgia, if you say Carolina,
I don't think so. I think he's right. But either way, the point is, in 49 other states, a hot dog's and a chili dog's a chili dog. So it's kind of pointless to ask people outside of the state because they're all going to say ketchup, mustard, relish.
Yeah, they're going to agree with us. So as well they should because we're right.
Let's take a break. Come back. Hour number 2 is just around the corner. Arn Anderson is at 11:30 with us here on the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate.
Yeah.
We'll see. Nah, she's not like.
But
I'm
whatever.
And in fairness, like I said, she hasn't been angry about it. She's just said, do whatever you want to do. And I don't know if that's genuine or not. I mean, I know that it's not. But also, she's not like, she's one of the wears the emotion on the sleeve type people. Like, she doesn't BS you. If it's like, that's going to tick me off, she just goes, no, that's going to tick me off. So I'm like, maybe she means it? I don't know. But I'm also an idiot, so.
Wow, I need to turn that off. I have some bad news, and I am extremely sorry about it. It's not like earth-shattering. The skimmer is down.
So we do not have the first 15 minutes of the show.
Yeah.
That's all right.
Sorry.
We didn't do anything.
You know, those backups are there for a reason.
Yeah.
And then you go to the backup and the backup's not there.
I'm going to break the game down again anyway, so it's fine.
It's like, I hope you weren't planning on using that segment.
It's all good. I thought you were going to tell me Hunter called and told us the interview's off. That's where my
No. QC connects in first break.
Hour number 2 of the Rob Brown Show goes now. This is the Fan Upstate. Hello, Upstate South Carolina. Hello, America. Hello, world. How do you do? Great to be with you on a Tuesday afternoon. Not so much a beautiful one. Tuesday morning, late morning. I'm working on it. Not so much a beautiful one, but hey, man, got to have the cloudy days to appreciate the sunshine. Am I right? Of course I am. I'm Rob Brown, the great one, Lonzo, on the other side of the glass. Phone lines open for you at 844-FAN-PHONE, 844-FANFONE, 844-326-3663. 844-326-3663 is the phone number. Can also text the show on the Preferred Home Services text line, 71307. Start your text with FAN, F-A-N, and that way they filter through and we can read them on the air. 71307. Start your text with FAN so they filter through to us. Get at us on Twitter as well. Twitter.com/The Rob Brown Show, at The Rob Brown Show if you're already on Twitter. And Lonzo, at Lonzo on Word, Lonzo on WRD. If you want to tweet us, you can come at us in that direction. Gonna be a busy couple of hours here on the show. First and foremost, coming up at 11:30 a.m., we will be joined by Arn the Enforcer Anderson, legendary member of the Four Horsemen, legendary professional wrestler. He'll join us at 11:30. We will talk with one of, frankly, my childhood icons. I watched Arn Anderson and Ric Flair and the gang back when I was nay but a lad, knee-high to a grasshopper with my old man. Arn Anderson's one of the reasons I was a wrestling fan from back in the day. So the legendary Arn Anderson joins us at 11:30. Tiger Woods practiced yesterday, got another 9 holes in, and Freddie Couples said that Eldrick looked good. Said that, frankly, he expects Eldrick to give a crack at the Masters. Round 1 coming up on Thursday. I will have extensive coverage of that event right here on the show Thursday and Friday. Thursday rounds will start late morning, so we should be getting guys off while we're on the air. And then we will keep track of those early rounds. On Friday, we break down round number 1 and preview round 2. And then, of course, when we come back next Monday on the Rob Brown Show, we will have coverage of the last few rounds of the Masters, including who it is that brings home your green jacket this year. So make sure you stay tuned for that. The Carolina Panthers have brought Malik Willis into the facility for a visit. The quarterback out of Liberty University, spending some time alongside the brass there at Panthers HQ. Does that tip the hand just a little bit? We're going to talk about that. But I wanted to throw this out. And it's not something we have brought up on the show yet, but it is something that I have seen brought up on other shows. It is something that I have seen come in with a lot of very, shall we say, polarized text on both our text line and our sister station text line. And that is that the South Carolina Lady Gamecocks were not on the court for the national anthem before the national championship game this past Sunday evening. And I have seen a ton of folks that have said, I would have been excited for them, but I'm not going to celebrate a team that's not out there for the anthem. Then last night at the men's national championship game, they played the national anthem, and we got a very unique take on it. They had a New Orleans-style brass band play the backing vocals for the national anthem, and it wasn't like crazy upbeat Mardi Gras music, but it was a relatively upbeat brass jazz rendition of the national anthem. And there were basically 2 takes on that. I loved it or I hated it. Dawn Staley has answered a couple of questions about why her team was not on the court for the national championship game. And it came down to simply this. The national anthem, but before the game starts, the game clock on the court counts down to the tip, right? And most teams have a routine that they are into. At X minutes on the clock, we come out for warm-ups. At X minutes minus Y, we go back into the locker room. At X minutes minus Z, we do our pregame ritual. At X minutes minus C, we do our team huddle. At 1 minute left, we're on the floor. At 30 seconds left, we're lined up. They have a ritual that they go through. And for all of the national championship games, for all of the NCAA tournament games, the national anthem was played with 0 seconds left on the clock, right? That's what they did at Greenville when we were there. The clock ticked down. When it hit 0, it did not signify the tip of the game. It signified time for the starters, time for the national anthem, time for the pregame festivities on the floor with both teams before we tip the basketball game. Dawn said that the national anthem at the national championship game was played, quote, at the 12 or 10 minute mark. And that's just not the time that we're out on the court because of our pregame ritual. If the national anthem is at 0 on the clock, we're out there standing for the national anthem. And she's right. For all the other games, this was the first game the Gamecocks were not on the floor for the national anthem. Now, I think that a lot of people will not give her team the benefit of the doubt because last year, during the point in time where the debate over players kneeling or sitting or standing for the anthem was at its peak, there were a number of Gamecocks basketball players who either took a knee or did not come out of the locker room until after the national anthem was over. And a lot of people got upset about that. I understand that. But for this one, Dawn said, look, we have a pregame routine that we go through. And it is based on the time on the clock leading up to the tip. And ordinarily, when that clock hits 0, we do the national anthem, we do the starters, we play the game. But whether it was because of the national championship, whether it was because of the television situation, whatever the reason was, they did the national anthem with 10 or 12 minutes left on the clock instead of at 0 like they had been doing in the past. It's probably a TV thing, right? TV says tip-off is at 7:15. TV wants tip-off at 7:15 on the dot. Like, toss the rock. And so the national anthem gets bumped up on the clock to 10 or 12 minutes. Well, these girls have been going through a routine based on the game clock all tournament long. In the last game, the most important game that these girls played all year long, did you suddenly want them to break that routine? Did you suddenly want them to go, oh, yeah. Ordinarily at 12 minutes is when we are doing our blank portion of the routine. That, by the way, has been part of a run to a national championship game. So we are going to break up that routine to come out for the song and then what? Go back into it? And also keep in mind that clock wasn't going to stop during the national anthem, which means that for the 120 seconds that song lasts, that's 2 minutes of their pregame routine just off the table, just gone. They don't do that now. I don't know if Dawn Staley was told before the game, hey, national, so for instance, I'm wearing my Ice Flyers hockey jersey today. I used to work for the Ice Flyers. I was their in-arena host, right? So whenever they go to an intermission or a break, the camera would come on me, and my job was to entertain the crowd and, do games or tell them what was being sold where, whatever. Well, before every game, we are handed a game script. And on that game script, on the left side are clock times. Not watch times, but clock times. When this show's on the clock, we do this. When this show's on the clock, we do this. And even at low-level professional games, that clock script is gospel. There is no questioning it. When we get to 7 minutes left in warm-ups, Rob Brown is at the concession stand to tell the crowd what the hot dog of the night is. No chili on this one because that's a chili dog. When we get to 1 minute left on the clock, Rob Brown opens the mic and hypes the crowd. Get up, get loud, right? I don't know if Dawn Staley was told beforehand, hey, instead of doing the national anthem at 0 on the clock, we're doing it with 10. You need to have your girls out here or not. What I know is, like every other team that's ever done it, they have a routine. And like the arena would do, their routine is based on what's shown on that game clock that's ticking backwards down to 0 and assumed the start to the game. So I guess the point that I'm saying is I saw a lot of people on Sunday and Monday who immediately jumped to conclusions. Oh, they're disrespectful. They're this, they're that, they're awful. I'd love to support the national championship, but I will not support a champion who doesn't stand for the flag. Which, fine, if that's your take. All right, cool. That's your take. That's fine. But I think a lot of people rushed to the conclusion of, oh, they're disrespectful. And the truth is, the pregame format got switched up on them. They had a routine that they followed to get them to a national championship, and they stuck with that routine to go win a national championship, which, by the way, was successful.
I am curious about one thing because I watched the game the next day and I fast forward through all the pomp and all the everything, get right to the game. So I didn't even watch that part. Was UConn on the court for?
I don't know, to tell you the truth.
So I mean, if UConn's not on the court, then it's not an optics thing. But if UConn is actually on the court and South Carolina is not, then you can see why people would think that.
Hey, man, look, if UConn saw fit to change their pregame routine, or if it happened to fit into their pregame routine, right? Like, I've played on teams, obviously not at D1 level or professionally, but I've played on teams before. My high school team, our coach built into our pregame routine, Mark Tiza built into our pregame routine, Lonzo, a 3-minute effectively meditation, where our team would go in the locker room and he would cut all the lights out. We would turn off all the speakers, all the music, and we would sit in the still and the quiet of the locker room and just use that time to focus and get our heads right, right? Every team has their ritual. Every team has their routine they go through. And maybe it fit into UConn's, maybe it didn't. Maybe UConn said, you know what, we're gonna scrap our ritual, our pregame routine, in order to be out there for the anthem. And if so, cool, I respect that too. But the Lady Gamecocks went in there with a job to do, right? They called it all week what? This is unfinished business. They believe that was their title last year. They did not get it. They had unfinished business. And if you read the books of the majority of legends of the sport, Kobe, Michael, whoever, all of them will tell you everything is routine, right? Everything. Your meals, your eating regimen is a routine. Your sleep cycle is a routine. Your pregame warm-up is a routine. Your free throw motion is a routine. Everything is a routine because routines develop habits and habits develop success if you have good habits, right? So they said, we came here with unfinished job to do. We came here with unfinished jobs to do. We have one mission, which is to bring that title home and cut down the net. This routine that we have gone through has worked for us for every single game of this tournament. We're going to follow that routine one last time. And that was it. Now, if in your opinion, being on the floor for the national championship, for the national anthem is more important than the national championship, that's your opinion. And that's fine. You're allowed to have it. But for them, the number one priority on that night was to win a national championship. Nobody hangs banners for most respectful during the national anthem. You can go to every gym in America. Nobody's got that banner hanging. The banner you do hang, the banner that gives you immortality on campus, is a national championship banner with your name stitched onto it. So they went through the routine. The point that I'm making here is that a lot of folks jumped to some conclusions and had some really unkind things to say about Dawn Staley and these women when the game was switched up on them, not the other way around. Leave them alone. Let them be. They went through their routine. Their routine just happened to not fit with what the updated, changed, and very different from every other game presentation was. They had a job, which was to win a title, and they won a title.
All right. I didn't find out if UConn was out there, but Louisville was for the Final Four game, which also got attention. I think what it comes down to is whether you want to stand for the national anthem or be out there or not, you need to understand what the optics are. And the fact that if the other team's out there and you're not, it's going to look like you didn't want to come out there. And that's just being smart optically and actually realizing that all this attention is going to be on us over this instead of us actually winning the championship. Someone should have thought of that. And if you have to vary your routine just so you don't get this backlash, then you do that. I get your side of it, but in the end, you know what the media is going to do. If you're not out there, go out there, vary your routine.
I got to tell you,
because this excuse looks like it's an excuse.
No, it looks like a reason.
No, it looks like an excuse for a lot of people.
No, see, what happens, I think this happens a lot. And I'm not talking about you. I'm using the royal you here. But I think what a lot of times happens is somebody thinks somebody else should behave a certain way. And when the other person does not behave that way, then they go, that's just an excuse because you're not behaving the way that I want you to behave.
So Louisville's out on the court, and they're making a big deal about them being out on the court. So automatically, the fact that South Carolina is absent, that looks bad on them. And someone had to think about that.
First off, subjectively looks bad on them.
Well,
it only looks bad on them if you think it looks bad. It doesn't bother me at all. They had a routine. They stuck with it. They won the game.
Right. But you wouldn't have any of this attention. You brought bad attention. You brought bad press on your team because you didn't think ahead. That's really what it comes down to. Whether you agree with any of that or not, it comes down to optics. Someone should have thought about it. It's a minute and a half, as you said, and a minute and a half is not going to make that much of a difference. They were going to win that game no matter what. They were a better team, and they proved it. that minute and a half. Then if you say, well, we came out for the national anthem and it messed up our routine and that's why we lost, that's a bunch of crap. If you lost, you lost because you weren't good enough.
You ready for what my favorite part of this conversation is? This is my favorite part of the conversation because it makes people uncomfortable. They don't give a damn what you think about their pregame routine. They don't care. And I'm not talking to Lonzo here.
All right. So
they don't care.
But you're wrong. But you're wrong. They do care. If they didn't care, then Dawn Staley wouldn't have to come out and say, here's the reason why, here's this. If she didn't care, she'd be like, we just didn't go out there, deal with it.
Right. But see, the problem is the problem is people that are laying into them, right? She has now offered the reason. And it's a valid reason. And I know it's valid because we've gotten about 6 texts up so far from people that have already said, yeah, I used to be an athlete. I had a routine. I did not vary that routine for anything. If Dawn Staley comes out and they go, hey, coach, why wasn't your team out for the anthem? And she goes, because we don't care what you think, that is infinitely worse. So what she did was the right thing to do. Here's why we weren't out there. They changed the routine on us. We didn't vary our routine because we wanted to be in the right mindset to win the game. We won the game.
By the way, all the routine talk to a degree is ridiculous because when it comes to certain kinds of games, national championship games, playoff games in the NFL or NBA, things are not like they all are all during the season. Things are changed. You cannot do your same routine because there are longer commercial breaks, there are longer half times, there are longer everything. So that's just kind of an excuse. That's what it is. In the end, whether I agree with them coming out or not, the optics were going to be this way. They should have been smart enough to realize that this would be handled like this and that some people would look at them in a bad light.
I get that point, and you're right. But the second half of that
I'm coming at this and staying out of the politics of it. I am just talking about the least amount of bad press you could get is by going out there.
So 2 parts to that. Number one, I don't think they brought politics into it. It's everybody that started bagging Dawn Staley on Twitter that brought, you disrespect the anthem. And she's going, whoa, hold on.
No, it's the media that did that. Because the media saw a story like they've always done, and that's partly the job. Really, the media is supposed to report the news, not make the news. So, wow, they're not out there. Let's put this everywhere. So it makes people angry about it. You get reaction. You get people coming to your site, reading this. You get one side, oh, I can't believe they did it. You get the other side going, well, they have every right. They did what they do nowadays. Media makes the news instead of reporting.
I'm gonna call a timeout on this because I think it's very easy for people to go, it's the media's fault. The media just said they weren't out there. I saw 0 media members say anything other than they weren't out there. It is the people that get, to me personally, irrationally upset to the point they attacked Dawn Staley on Twitter, via her handle. You just wait. That's an agenda.
Wait. You are surprised by attacks on Twitter?
No, I'm not.
I mean, come on.
That's why I'm on Twitter.
That's what Twitter is.
That's what Twitter's for. Look. I don't think there was politics brought into it. I think Dawn gave a reason. If her reason's not good, and this is where this conversation ultimately falls, right? This and then the text I'm going to read you. The conversation ultimately falls at Dawn gave you her reason and her team's reason. If her reason and her team's reason weren't good enough for you, they don't care. They have 0 obligation to justify themselves to your content. If you were unhappy with them, Dawn and the girls don't care. We did what we needed to do to win a title. We won the title. And as this texter on the Preferred Home Services,
if you don't care, you don't answer the question. If you don't care,
you
just ignore it.
It's never going to go away.
Well, then you do care. You only answer a question if you care about the question.
Yeah, I would disagree with that. So texter says, we got a few texts here. Texter says, I wrestled in high school and college. We stuck to our routine no matter what the situation is. It's the comfort of the routine and some superstitions. Texter says, fan, proper take on the Lady Gamecocks, friend. Screw the optics. Never bury the routine. Lonzo is wrong. That's from KC Chiefs Chad. Another texter says, they better have that banner up. That's the American flag, man. Another texter says, 6 months. Nobody will remember this, but that chip will stay forever. Texter says, now that we know it's that important, every home game that plays them should change up pregame on purpose to affect them. That's from Joe. And texter said, tell him, Lonzo, tell the snowflake about the media. Not coming out for the national anthem is like 3 years ago. That is from Joe. Appreciate you guys on the text line. Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll get some Tiger Woods talk in here in just a minute. We will break down last night's national championship game one more time again, and the Panthers have brought Malik Willis into the facility for a visit. Is this a tip of the hand? We'll address that and more coming up next on The Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate.
QC. I like the one above it. Hey, look, we're back.
Hello, everybody. So Tiger turned in another 9 yesterday, and Fast Freddy Couples said he looked really good doing it, and that he's optimistic El Tigre is going to play. One of the security guards was walking through the Augusta media tent, and Mark Schlabach, who was there covering the Masters, said that it was the most unheralded entrance of all time for Tiger. He said he heard a security guard coming through. A security guard say, "Excuse us, a player is coming through." And then just comes Tiger and Hideki Matsuyama, the defending Masters champion. He said after that, it was just a mob around Tiger Woods, which of course it was. Went out, played a practice round with Justin Thomas and Fred Couples yesterday. And Schlabach said that Woods had the ever so slightest of limps. The ever so slightest of limps. He said it looked less like a limp and more like a, quote, hitch in his step, end quote.
So not a limp, but a pimp.
Pit walk.
Yeah.
Yeah, man. El just got the pimp walk coming down 18. Why not? Couple said, quote, "He's kind of a tough guy. He's never going to let you know he's in pain. He looked good walking. You can always be in pain, but to hit it like that, now it's just the walking part. If he can walk around here for 72 holes, he'll contend. He's too good," end quote. I said yesterday, I'll say again today. If Tiger can play without risking his long-term health, he should. He should. It'd be good for the game. It'd be good for him. It'd be good for golf fans. And like I said yesterday, I think to some degree, Tiger kind of owes the game a little bit, right? I mean, the game owes Tiger exponentially. Tiger Woods for a number of years made golf cool, which it was never cool before Tiger. I mean, it was cool, but it was never cool.
I've never been to Augusta. I'm guessing maybe you have because
I have not yet. It's on the bucket list.
You've been everywhere? Okay. From a report I heard earlier today, they're saying Augusta is like the hilliest of all hills.
It is called the toughest walk in golf.
And as someone who's had major leg surgery before, hills are rough. And this is still fairly recent for him.
Yeah, was it 14 months ago?
Yeah. And
that he almost died?
And I'm sure he's got, private trainers, all that kind of stuff, working with him and everything. But there's a difference between playing 9 and playing an entire tournament.
Sure, I agree.
And if you're him and you believe you can do, he's had to back out of tournaments in the middle of them before because of his back and things like that. Do you take that chance this early? I get what you're saying about
I would say yes, because he already is to some degree. He played 18 over the weekend. He played another 9 yesterday. And like you said, you're spot on. 27 is not 72. I agree with that. 27 is not 72.
Is he pushing it by doing all these practice rounds before jumping in there? I mean, I get you go out and play a couple holes and go, okay, I'm good. Don't you kind of reserve that? I mean, again, coming off of injury, I know what that's like. And the fact that you don't want to be sore going into playing. Don't you kind of reserve it and get through as much as you can rather than playing as much as he has?
I don't know, right? I don't know because I'm not Tiger. I don't know how Tiger's legs feel. I don't know how Tiger's back feels. I'm not Tiger's doctor. I don't know what Tiger's legs structurally look like. I don't know what Tiger's back is capable of handling. What I do know is that Tiger has played through stuff before that a lot of other guys probably would not have, right? Other guys have said, I don't know that I can play with the situation Tiger faces. Tiger played for so many years with so much torque, right? Go back and watch Tiger Woods swings from the mid-2000s, 2006, 2007. Watch Tiger Woods drive the golf ball. When you do, watch his left knee. Tiger rotates his whole body, and he builds up all this kinetic energy through his hips, through his back, through his shoulders, through his arms, and then he snaps all of that kinetic energy at once, bang, into the left knee. It's jarring. It's unsettling to watch in slow motion because all of that kinetic energy torques into his left leg. His left leg jolts and then stiffens, and then that left leg pulls that kinetic energy through the backswing. I don't know. Tiger's never going to drive the golf ball even close to what he used to. I have no doubt. Like I said, I don't think Tiger Woods contends on Sunday. I don't think he contends on Sunday. But like I said yesterday, while the game of golf owes Tiger Woods almost undying gratitude for what he did for the game, right? So like I said, I don't know if we have Ricky Fowler's and Rory McIlroy's if it wasn't for Tiger. I mean, some of them may have still grown up, but how many young pros took up golf because of Tiger? A lot. And most of them will tell you, Eldrick Tiger Woods was a role model of mine. He was a guy I modeled myself after, I learned from. But the flip side is true too. The game of golf gave everything to Tiger, right? The game of golf did everything for Tiger. If it wasn't for the game of golf, we wouldn't know who Tiger Woods is. And when Tiger was having his off-the-course problems, of which there were quite a few, golf repeatedly offered him the resources to get through it and the ability to come back from them. And he took advantage of that multiple times. If Tiger can play, even if, and I said this yesterday as well, even if it's only 18 on Thursday, right? Play 18 on Thursday, turn in the card, and then withdraw. It'd just be good to see him out there. It would, especially with the drama they've got going on elsewhere, with the comments of Phil Mickelson, the fact that Phil Mickelson's not playing in the Masters for the first time since what? I think 1994 was the last time we played at Augusta with no Phil Mickelson. And all of the drama that has surrounded that whole situation. Bryson DeChambeau was asked about Phil yesterday, and he said, Phil has gone radio dark on us. Phil's not answering phone calls. He's not answering texts. He's not answering emails. He has just disappeared. Golf's got drama. And to see Eldrick Tiger Woods out on the course would be good for the game of golf. I think it'd be good for Tiger. Certainly be good for the Masters and Augusta. It'd be good for the fans. If he can play without it risking his long-term health, he should. I think he owes it to golf. As much as golf owes him, I think he owes it to the game as well. Let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute, we'll break down last night's national championship game. 72-69, the Jayhawks of Kansas are your national championship winners. They went hard in the paint late. Looked like Carolina was going to run away with the thing. Up, 16 at the half. But then something went dramatically wrong for the Tar Heels. I'll tell you what it was when we come back. I'm Rob, he's Lonzo, and this is the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate.
Question is, did the prayer affect the outcome?
I just love the concept.
Suddenly, the writers' room was swayed in a different direction.
I was gonna say, I love the concept of the big man being a Ric Flair fan.
So, in an all-out brawl, who wins, the Four Horsemen or NWO?
Are
Both,
you just
both at their prime.
I'm assuming when you say NWO, you're giving me Nash, Hall, Hogan, and who?
Let's throw in Scott Steiner. Because I don't know. I mean, Bischoff technically was the
but
fourth,
I'm not.
but it's got to be a wrestler.
Yeah.
So I don't remember who the first member of the NWO aside from them was, but.
So what went wrong for the heels last night? They fell apart. What was it? I'm going to tell you, it's real simple. Fatigue. Fatigue and injuries. That's it. Fatigue and injuries. But fatigue and injuries will do it for you. That'll do you in. No doubt about it. It was fatigue and injuries to me. Down the stretch, and look, it started with Brady Manick taking a Macho Man Randy Savage elbow to the dome early in that matchup and going down hard. He was still good after that. He had a run of like 3 consecutive threes that really started the Carolina run that built him a 16-point halftime lead. But Brady Manick in the second half didn't look like the same cat. He took another elbow late in the first half. And again, it's basketball. It's going to happen. Anybody who's played knows that under the rack, elbows are going to get caught. That's just part of it. But he did not look like the same guy. I think you go back and you look at Caleb Love. Caleb Love, who by the way, a 16-point-a-game guy, a nearly 4-board-a-game guy, a 4 assists-a-game guy. Caleb Love he wasn't there. I mean, 13 points, but on 5 of 24 shooting, 1 of 8 from behind the arc. 1 of 8. Caleb Love looked tired. He also looked gimpy. He looked beat up. As did the big man on the inside, Armando Bacot. You could tell that Bacot dragged himself through this tournament, right? That dude was on a gimp wheel most of the tournament. Dragged himself through, and commendable in doing so. Bacot was the definition of rub some dirt on it and get through the game, Chief. He did that most of the game. But this team was banged up. Caleb Love was exhausted. He was playing on a flat tire. Brady Manick was taking elbows to the dome like a professional wrestling match. He was beat up by the end of that game. The legs just weren't there. It's real simple to me. And you can tell that in the difference between the stats of the first half and the second half. If you looked at the box score of the first half, you'd have thought Carolina was going to win that game by 25. But the second half was a different game. The second half was a different Carolina basketball squad. The legs were gone, right? Which is why Caleb Love's 1 of 8 on threes. His last one of them, was one that would have tied the game and sent it to OT. I got to be honest with you. That game goes to OT. Carolina loses by more because they were out of gas. They were on fumes at the end. Somebody said if Caleb Love, at the time that he took that 3, was 1 of 7 on the night, why see the guy taking the shot? He wasn't supposed to be. Go back and watch that last play. The screens were set for Brady Manick. The play was designed for Manick. Manick ran what we called in high school a push play. You have your guard come up top to draw the defense lengthwise. You have your two forwards go down to the block. Manek runs behind them. He catches not one but two screens. He pops out the other side behind the arc. You pass to the guard who works it over to Manek, who hopefully you bought a second to get a shot off. And Brady Manek, who was 50%, 3 of 6 behind the arc, takes that shot. Problem was, Manek came off the screen and he fell down. And when he fell down, he looked like a baby deer on ice. He could not get his legs back under him. Now, maybe there was some instability. Mark Ryan put on his Twitter a really interesting view of when Armando Bacot twisted his ankle. If you look at the floor, it looks, Lonzo, and I'll pull the video for you so you can take a look at it. But it most certainly looks like the basketball court under his feet kind of jiggles a little bit, kind of gives in a little bit. Here's the video from it. I don't know if you can reach around the side of the monitor, but watch his right foot. You see that? It most certainly looks like the floor gives way under his foot. I'm not saying it did. It may just be a shine of some type on the floor, but it most certainly looks like it did.
Well, I think all floors give a little bit when you're a heavier guy, and he's not exactly light.
Nah, but still, it's that can't happen.
It looks more like the shine to me than it does the floor bending. It looks like someone trying to find a reason. Did anybody else have a problem at that particular point in the floor? I mean,
it didn't look like it. It didn't look like it. And again, I'm not saying that is what happened. I'm saying it certainly has a look of that. It doesn't matter how it happened. Bacot's ankle got twisted.
I was going to say, I don't know about you, but you can walk down the hall and just twist your ankle. I realize we are not, at the height of our athletic prowess anymore, but still, I mean, if there's you just step the wrong way, you can do that. And going as fast as they're going, doing what they're doing, it's real easy to do that.
Painfully aware. And I use painfully quite literally there. I don't know what happened. What I do know, it was one of a number of injuries and bang-ups that happened. So Manek comes off the screen on that last play, designed to be the guy that takes the shot, comes off a hard screen, eats it, and can't stand up, right? Looked like a baby giraffe taking those first steps. We've all seen that video. Just the legs were shaky. Couldn't get that's dead legs. That's fatigue. Dead legs is what that is. So I think that with the fatigued dead legs of Brady Manek, he couldn't get himself free. He couldn't get to his spot on the outside corner. He couldn't get set up to take the pass from the guard. He couldn't do it. So it had to go to Caleb Love, 1 for 7 at the point. After that miss, 1 of 8 from 3, 5 of 24 from the floor. That's the discussion. When it mattered most, McCormick and Agbaji, those guys were able to dominate the paint late. Carolina owned the offensive glass early. Back in the first hour, I said, if you've ever played in or been around a band, nobody wants to be the bassist. But the bassist is arguably the most important person in the band to keep the rhythm, right? Any drummer will tell you, the bassist keeps the rhythm for the drums, too. A great band needs a great bassist, even though the bassist doesn't go on the front page of the magazines. North Carolina played great bass in the first half. 18 second chance points. That'll win you a basketball game. Late in the second half, they were tired. They were fatigued. Kansas pushed them out of that spot. The second chance points went away, and when they did, so did Carolina's chance to win. It breaks down that simply. Album number 3, and Arn Anderson coming up at 11:30. That's next on the Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. Build it forward. Oh, well, would you look at that? My favorite person, Lou, is watching. Hi, Lou. How you doing, buddy? Mr. Lonzo says hi, too. Look, I'm even going to put your name up on the screen. How about that, Lou? Your name is on TV. You're famous. You're famous, my guy. Go watch some Bill Nye the Science Guy. I'm getting him hooked on Bill Nye the Science Guy. Go watch Bill Nye. Tell Grant to turn off this dumb show and go watch science shows. Miss you, buddy. Josh says, Nash, Hall, Hogan, Macho Man versus Flair, Wyndham, Benoit, McMichael, or Malenko, your choice. How are you going to leave Arn Anderson out? He's literally coming on the show.
Yeah, I mean, what about Ole? The original Four Horsemen: Ric Flair, Arn, Ole, and Tully. I also looked up who was next after Hall, Nash, and Hogan, and I'm getting different signals of whether it was Buff Bagwell or
that's right, Buff Bagwell.
Or Steiner or Six.
Six Pac. The
What?
artist formerly known as the 1-2-3 Kid.
I think it's either Bagwell or Steiner. Either way, People need to not sell Arn short or Oli for that answer. For that matter, Oli was mean. The Hurley in first break.
Super duper.
It's all about how old you are, Josh. I remember back in my day when the NWO first started and when the Four Horsemen just started. Guess I can't use that for NWO.
Ladies and gentlemen, give it up for the Rob Brown Show Bracket Challenge winner, C.G. Carter 1. We had 3 brackets select the correct national champion, the Kansas Jayhawks. And those 3 brackets ended up first, second, and third. Well done. C.G. Carter knocks off the March Mania bracket and the Panhandle Dan bracket. He correctly selected, Lonzo, 98.1% of his games were correct. That's unreal.
Wow.
Yeah. That's got to be top 5,000 in the nation, top 1,000 in the nation.
I think if we actually had money prizes involved with that, he would have.
He'd have gone bananas.
Yeah.
March Mania selected 95.3% of the games correctly, and Panhandle Dan selected 92.7% of the games correctly. Nobody else was over 91. Andrew B., who held the lead until the very end, but selected North Carolina. He had to be a wreck last night, right? Andrew B. Going from a 16-point lead and a guaranteed segment on the Rob Brown Show. 16-point lead at the half for the Tar Heels. Andrew was sitting at his laptop scripting out his segment. Going, I am going to make these clowns talk about everything that makes them uncomfortable. Can't wait. Scripted out the segment. The Heels up 16 at the end of the first half. And then watch that lead trickle away. Minute by minute, bucket by bucket. Kansas down 14, then 11, then 9, then 7, then 4, then 2, then take the lead, then grow the lead. Rough night for Andrew B. 90.9% of the brackets correctly selected, but had North Carolina beating Kansas in the national championship game. So C.G. Carter wins the bracket contest. If you are listening, C.G. Carter, do me a favor, send me an email. rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. And you're all welcome to email me. I read them all. rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. C.G. Carter, you hit me with your phone number. I'll give you a buzz. We'll get you set up to come on the show. If you finished ahead of me in the bracket, that is to say, and you had to beat me, not tie me, you had to beat me outright. We had to beat me and Lonzo, but Lonzo checked in 60th, so you had to beat me.
That's hurtful.
Also true.
But I'm okay.
If you beat me, which misses out on a bracket that tied me, Lonzo, named Pick Boogers Not Michigan. Great bracket name.
That's an awesome name all around.
Yeah, great bracket name. If you came in T30 or better in our bracket contest, drop me an email with your personalized shout out attached to it. If you are in our bracket contest and you don't know if you beat me or not, go to the bracket contest page, take a look. If you are T30 or better, then you did. Congratulations. What I will need you to do, I will need you to send me an email to rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. rob.brown@thefanupstate.com. Send me your bracket name and username so I can verify it's you. And then send me your one-sentence shout-out. And I will start reading them on the air.
Please make them. And you may not know what FCC compliant is, but, use your best guess about what the FCC compliancy is. So if you wouldn't say it in church, if you wouldn't say it in front of your boss, if you wouldn't say it in front of your mom, there's one of those in there that maybe
That's
you wouldn't.
That's not fair. I say everything on the radio in front of my mom, technically.
Yeah. So anyway, keep it clean.
If you wouldn't say it in front of my mom, don't say it.
Okay. There we go.
Yeah.
I wanted to say that innuendo is okay, but I'm not going to say that. You can try to get it by,
You
though.
have heard the text we've read before. All right. Here's what I'm going to say. If it's not air quality, I'm not going to read it. So just know that. At the end of the day,
if Michael Stathakis would be proud of your sentence, maybe curve it back just a little bit. just a little.
If you ended up T30 or better, shoot your one-line shout-out to rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, and I will start reading them on the air. You'll also have to listen to the show because I can't tell you where I'm going to read them because I don't know. I'm just going to kind of plug them as we go. CG Carter wins the whole thing. Correctly selected the Rock Chalk Kansas Jayhawks at the very end. Won it by 10 points. Sorry, won it by 90 points. Little less dramatic.
Yeah, 10, 90. Yeah.
CG Carter with 1,130 points. There was a total of 320 points on the line in every round. So by correctly selecting the national champion, he popped another 320 on the end and skyrocketed to first. Had Andrew B. been the other way around and correctly selected North Carolina, he would have won that thing. Professor Lester had North Carolina picked as well. He'd have added 320 to his score and would have been in second place. Instead, Professor Lester ends up in 14th, despite correctly picking a finalist. Woof. Anyway, if you were T30 or better, shoot me an email, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, rob.brown@thefanupstate.com, with your one-sentence shout-out that is FCC compliant. And once we get CG Carter in here, we'll give him his one segment to talk about whatever it is he wants to talk about on the air. All right. Coming up at 11:30, here in about 23 minutes from right now, we are going to chat with one of the original Four Horsemen, Arn freaking Anderson. The legendary Arn Anderson is going to join us right here on the Rob Brown Show on the Fan Upstate. Very excited about that interview. Lonzo and I have a ton of questions for the great one, the executor, the enforcer, Arn Anderson. Looking forward to that. Before we get there, let me throw this story out there while I'm on things that make me laugh and are awesome. So Jimmy and Dee Haslam are the owners of the Cleveland Browns. And Jimmy and Dee Haslam, of course, have taken a lot of fire in the last 2 weeks after the Browns are the team that ultimately have employed Deshaun Watson. Jimmy and Dee Haslam put out a statement after they brought in Deshaun Watson. And ordinarily, it's usually just Jimmy Haslam that's on the name. But they took more fire because Dee Haslam's name was on this announcement. And speaking of optics like we were earlier, it certainly seems interesting that Dee Haslam's name is not on the, that's D-E-E, not just the initial D. Jimmy Haslam's wife, Dee. It's interesting that D. Haslam's name is not on the majority of releases, but suddenly, when people are going, this signing of this player is a slap in the face of women everywhere, all of a sudden, D. Haslam, a woman, has her name on the press release going, we believe in second chances. Well, then the folks at Pro Football Talk did some digging. Michael David Smith has a piece up at Pro Football Talk right now that talks about the acquisition of the Cleveland Browns by Jimmy D. Haslam. Now, the Haslams used to be minority owners of the Pittsburgh Steelers. So they have some level of ownership experience. And Michael David Smith writes that their previous involvement with the winning franchise should have given them a good idea about how to rebuild the Browns. But, of course, they have not done so. They have not done so. D did an interview with Nate Ulrich of the Akron Beacon Journal in Akron, Ohio, home of LeBron James. And D said about her experience when she became a majority owner of the Cleveland Browns, quote, no, you don't know anything, end quote. Jimmy Haslam then said, we did a lousy job. I mean, let's just face it. It's probably fair to say we didn't know what we were doing. In some ways, I go, 10 years, we haven't won very many games, so I look at it that way, end quote. You know, there's not a lot more to this story, Lonzo. I like bringing up stories that make me laugh, right? Even if there's not a lot of weight to them in the grand scheme of things, I like bringing up stories that make me laugh. And there's not much that's going to make me laugh more than the owner of an NFL franchise effectively saying, we've done a lousy job and we don't know what we're doing.
So what he's doing, he's vindicating fans all over the state of Ohio who have said, Haslam, he doesn't know what he's doing. And now we know they were right.
Yeah.
He doesn't. It's kind of refreshing in a way, because here's what, people say they want the athlete or the owner or whatever to be honest. One is, and then you're like, why in the world would he say that?
So for the record, my tirades v. coach speak, usually in game stuff, right? Imagine being a Cleveland Browns fan.
My best friend in the whole wide world is a Cleveland Browns fan.
Imagine being Lonzo's best friend in the whole wide world. And imagine over the past 20 years, 30 years, you have had, I believe, and it's not an exact number, Lonzo, but I believe over the past 30 years, the Cleveland Browns have had 2,316 different starting quarterbacks.
There's another one if you count a half season.
Gotcha.
So, yeah,
okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, look, I'm going to throw a plus or minus 10 margin of error on that, right? So roughly, give or take 10, 2,216 starting quarterbacks in the past 30 years. You know, in the time period that we are talking about, 24 years, the Green Bay Packers, Lonzo, have had 2 starting quarterbacks. 2. The Cleveland Browns have, jokes aside, have had about 26, 27 starting quarterbacks in the time the Packs had 2. Now, that's bad enough as it is, right? Because after 11, you can't chalk it up to bad luck anymore, can you? You cannot chalk it up to bad luck that you have missed on a dozen starting quarterbacks in a row. When you double that number, yeah, we kind of know the team's bad. So you got all that swimming around in your brain as a Browns fan, and then you wake up and you get a RSS feed notification that says Jimmy and D. Haslam do exclusive interview with the Akron whatever journal. the Akron Beacon Journal. And you go, okay, it's
You
all
really,
season.
you really think the Akron Beacon Journal sends out alerts? I
don't know,
uh,
kind of feel like we all have to now. It's not an option anymore. Which, by the way, go to thefanupstate.com. Go to thefanupstate.com. Subscribe to our Insiders Club, and you can get text notifications about things happening on the air, important game alerts and whatnot, etc. Anyway, imagine getting the notification in the midst of the offseason where you picked up Deshaun Watson, where a solid chunk of the NFL fan base is now actively rooting for you to lose because you have picked up Deshaun Watson, right? And getting the notification your owner has spoken to the media. And then opening that notification to read the interview and finding out that not one but both of your owners have said, we did a lousy job. And when asked, did you have any experience with the Steelers as a minority owner that let you believe that you knew what you were doing when you bought the Browns, having the other owner go, nope, we don't know anything. Cool. Good luck, Browns fans. Because here's the thing. It's been 10 years. Breaking news. The Haslams still don't know what they're doing. Clearly. A decade at the helm, and you're still this bad? Yikes. Back after this on the Rob Brown Show. Rob, Lonzo, you, this is the Fan Upstate. So I don't know if you guys know this or not, but I ride motorcycles, and I only have one regret about that, and it's that I did not wait until I moved to the upstate to purchase my motorcycle from my friends at Harley-Davidson
everybody.
You saw the fear of life leave me.
Remember, I see everything. Never question, man. I hope Lonzo didn't see that because I did.
I mean, it wasn't like you could miss it. I thought it was going to die.
Yeah. I've seen
Did
that
not make a
expression.
noise, though.
I've seen that expression a couple times in the last.
Yeah,
week
last
or
time my
so.
chair broke.
Yeah. Do I need to get Chris back in here to fix it again, or you have a Prisma in the next break?
Okay.
So keep that in mind as you're trying to
Yep.
work out how to. And the break itself is like 5 minutes long. I might be able to get rid of something, but only like a minute. So I think when you think NWO versus Four Horsemen, you automatically think that there's no way that the Horsemen could win because of Kevin Nash. But Flair could take Hogan out. I think Ole Anderson could handle Nash. And Arn Anderson can handle whichever one he had to after that. And Tully wasn't exactly a small guy.
No, he was not.
Should I ask Arn if there was ever any hair jealousy on his part? Surrounded by all those beautiful heads of hair.
So during the break, we got a very interesting announcement from Eldrick Tiger Woods. Tiger speaking to the media live right now from Augusta National Golf Course says that, quote, as of right now, I feel that I'm playing, end quote, and asked if he believes that he can win at Augusta National this weekend. He said, yes, I do. So it looks like...
What a dumb question. Do you feel like you could win? You don't play unless you feel like you could win.
I don't know, man. I think if you're
If
Tiger,
I was him, I think you look at the report and go, dude, I'm Tiger Woods.
No,
And then move on.
I think it's fair to ask a dude who was seconds away from having his legs amputated, do you think you can win? Not play, win, right? Obviously, he thinks he can play. He wouldn't be out there spinning practice rounds if he didn't think he could at least play golf. But I think it's fair to ask the guy, do you have it in you to win this tournament? And yes, of course, a guy like Tiger, Kobe, Michael, the greats are all going to say, yeah, of course I think I can win. I'm freaking Tiger Woods, dude. Of course I think I can win.
What are they teaching these guys in broadcasting school? And it's, I mean, come on. What? I hope one of the reporters next to the guy or whoever did it threw a sharp elbow into their ribs after they asked that question.
Brady Manicked him. Yeah, I think it's fair to ask Eldrick, do you think you can win this tournament? Not just play in it, but win it, right? Because the one thing you don't want to do if you're Tiger is add all the pressure onto yourself of showing up, going out there, stepping onto the course, and then sucking it up with your fans believing you're going to show up with a chance to contend and letting them down by going out there and going and saying nothing about it, getting your fans whipped into shape to believe that you got a shot, and then going 10 over on the first day.
No, Tiger's just there because he needs money. That's why he's there.
Yeah, I'm sure he's hurt.
Yeah, that's the reason why he's there. Otherwise, he wouldn't. Of course, he thinks he can win. This is so stupid. Hey, Tiger, do you believe that you can win this tournament? And then Tiger says, shut up.
I will tell you, I would probably like a guy who talked the way that Lonzo wants athletes to talk on the mic. Hey, Tiger, 14 months ago, we didn't know if you were going to be able to walk again. 14 months ago, we didn't know if you were going to be able to ever pick up your kids again. Do you think you can win the most difficult sporting event on the PGA Tour calendar? And Tiger goes, man, shut the hell up. Of course I can win, dog. I'm Tiger Woods, bro. Do you not know who I am, homie? I am Tiger Woods.
I'm sure he has a certain amount of power to just point at a security guard and point at him and have him get this guy out.
Like every wrestling manager ever. Just Angel Garcia's him with the thumb over the shoulder. Doesn't even say, points and then gives the shoulder. And a team of guys in black SUVs rolls up. Look, I think it's fair to ask Tiger, do you feel like you're in shape to win this thing, right? And let him answer. You know he's going to say yes, but you answer anyway. You ask him anyway. I will tell you, sometimes in the game, when you ask these guys these questions, you're not asking Tiger Woods and say, yeah, I can win. You're asking Tiger Woods to hope that he's going to give you some details on why he feels like he can win, how his legs feel, how his back feels. My man is Steve Austin, and I don't mean the wrestler. I mean the bionic man from the hips down. It is fair to ask him, do you feel like you can genuinely turn a few and compete? All right, let's take a break. When we come back here in just a minute from right now, we are going to be joined by one of the legendary Four Horsemen, the Enforcer, and one of a handful of reasons that your boy remains a wrestling fan, the great Arn Anderson, joins us next on The Rob Brown Show. This is the Fan Upstate. Tell you about my friends at Prisma Health, ladies and gentlemen, all across The Rob Brown Show back on your radio. This is the Fan Upstate. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen. Lonzo and Rob with you this late morning. And now to the phone lines we go. You know, we have been very fortunate over the past few months working with All Elite Wrestling. We have had some fantastic names on, but I don't know that there has been one that is as legendary as our next guest. I can tell you that many moons ago, a very young Rob Brown was watching wrestling with his old man, and this was one of the guys that made me a fan, one of the guys that kept me a fan, and one of the guys that keeps me a fan now. One of the original members of the Four Horsemen. He is the legendary Arn Anderson joining us here on the show. Arn, my man, it is a privilege and an honor to have you on. I appreciate you taking the time. Welcome in, sir.
Well, the privilege and the honor is all mine. Thank you for that setup. And, you know, when I hear about guys or ladies for that matter that grew up watching wrestling with their father or their grandfather, really makes me feel good that they're still with us. So thanks for still being with us.
Man, same to you. And, you know, I got to tell you, obviously we got to start with as you are on your way to South Carolina Comic-Con this weekend, where you will meet some of the residents of the upstate. We were at the AEW show last Wednesday in Columbia, South Carolina. Alonzo and I were about, 20 feet away when you came out with your boy and his tag team to put them on TV. To still be not just involved in the game, Arn, but to still be a major player from your work with Cody Rhodes through the beginning of AEW, now your own son working with his tag team, to being backstage, to developing what is rapidly becoming a fan favorite in All Elite Wrestling. What does it mean to you, Arn, not just to still have skin in the game, but to still be a major influence on this business?
Well, I guess as it turns out, you go back and look at my history, in as much as anything else, I think people feel like I was a pretty good communicator. And I can still do that. You know, I'm 63 years old. I'm not who I was, but I'm still good enough shape to punch somebody in the mouth and explain to you why I did it. So, you know, nothing has kept me with AEW more than the fact that Tony Khan's a great guy. He's a great employer. He's great for the wrestling business because he listens to wrestling fans, and that's what he goes with on our show. And the fact that I'm still around to help my son Brock, the next generation of Andersons, that's really my main focus now. Is helping him, and Lee Johnson, who's a great kid, is coming along for the ride, and it's just one of those things that it was timing, and timing worked out right, and I'm just glad to still be here.
You know, Arn, there's a common theme here about family. I'm 53, by the way, and my grandpa was bedridden. So every Saturday night I would go over to his house, and he and I would sit in his room and watch wrestling. And I you know, there was such a disconnect as far as age went, but the one thing that we could agree on was wrestling. He's the one that got me into watching it. He loved the Horsemen. I got to tell you honestly, when Arn Anderson showed up, I was scared because Arn Anderson meant business, and you know you got your Flair doing all the stuff that Flair has always done, but when Arn Anderson showed up in the ring, you knew somebody was going to get it. Are you shocked by how wrestling is still as big as it is today? Does this have to do with what we've been talking about all along, family going generation from generation?
You know, I think that's it. I did Comic-Con, for WrestleMania this past week, and I got to talk to people from all over the world. And, you know, the theme, every third or fourth person, they had a story about, hey, you know, I would watch with my dad, I watched with my grandpa, my grandmother used to hate your guts, you know, all these beautiful stories of families sitting down at 605. And it was the Crockett years, I think, between 85 and 89 that were the golden years of wrestling. I don't think it got any better. And Jim Crockett Promotions had a crew of guys that were dedicated to the sport. that were dedicated to the fans and just went out there, and we didn't have the benefit of a lot of the technology that WWF had at the time. But, man, you're talking about a wrestling product and a wrestling show. There was nothing any better. And I just feel like, you know, the performance level and the guys that were able to connect, you know, I've never heard any screams as loud as for the Rock and Roll Express. And there were 10 and 12 and 13-year-old screams. And, you know, the cheers for Dusty and all these great superstars, you know, the boos for the Horsemen in the beginning, but then over time, you know, you got the respect of the fans, and the boos turned into yays. It was one of those transitions that you just had to live through. And I think when you share something with a family member, whether it's fishing or hunting or playing cards or playing chess or going to wrestling matches, when you bring your family together around something like that, it sticks with you through life. And it's okay to be a wrestling fan. You know, no matter what anybody tells you, it's all right.
The legendary Arn Anderson joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. And I wanted to ask you about that, Arn. Obviously, South Carolina Comic-Con coming up here in Greenville, South Carolina this weekend. You will be there alongside Tony Schiavone and a handful of other legends from the business. Over the years, especially when your work transitioned from out of the ring, onto the mic, as a manager, producer, trainer, educator backstage, when you get the opportunity to talk to the fans. You know, we talked to Paul White last week on the show, and Paul said the number one thing he tells young wrestlers is whatever you're going to do, make sure it connects with the audience. So as somebody who clearly did that over generations, do you get more joy when people tell you, I loved Arn Anderson growing up? Or do you get more joy when people tell you, I hated your guts and it kept me coming back for more, which obviously is a result of great character work? Which one of those two do you prefer to hear?
Bingo. Well, I hated your guts. Even more so, my grandmother hated your guts. On the surface, that sounds a little disturbing because I am a granny lover. But when I hear that, it meant they were sitting there watching together. Again, there's that family connection. And in those days, man, we did some rotten things to some people that were beloved. And I can't tell you, probably in the range of 5 or 6 canes by beautiful grandmothers were broken over my back over the course of time. And that was the greatest thrill I ever had, to be honest with you.
All right, Rob mentioned that we were at AEW last week. One thing that I noticed when you walk out and everyone noticed was the Glock talk. When you say something right away, and this happens in wrestling more so than anywhere else, something becomes a catchphrase forever. Did that just pop in your head? And when you said it, did you know that was going to happen?
You know, I had no idea. And if you are a fan of, you know, the 80s, you know, I said some pretty stout things. But it's been so long since anything like that was said on TV, and, you know, with political correctness being what it is, I had no idea that was going to pop into my head till I got rolling. And, you know, any great communicator in our business will tell you, I don't sit there and memorize off of a sheet. I kind of go through what I want to talk about in my head, and once that light comes on, you just roll with it. And it becomes not a promo, but a conversation between myself and the audience, or myself and my opponent. And when it becomes conversational, it's real, because it is real. It's not a writer writing something down and handing you a piece of paper and say, here, say this. So once it got rolling, you know, and I do feel that way. Now, I'm not a all the time gun carrying aficionado, but I tell you what, I do feel that there's a lot of people in this world today that are victims that shouldn't be. And I think everybody has a right to protect themselves. And that's something that I carry around with me daily, because if you watch the news, man, it's a dangerous world out there. And for no apparent reason other than people are disgruntled and quite frankly, they can get away with it. But without getting political, I do feel like if, a guy jerks my car door open, he's not going to like what he finds on the other side. And that was the premise in my head that I kind of live with, and it just filtered its way in, and, man, did that thing blow up.
I love the concept of, dude, opening the car door, realizing Arn Anderson's in the front door, and just slowly closing it back to walk away. Arn Anderson joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. So, Arn, throughout your career, you stood both next to and across from some of the biggest names in wrestling in history, and a lot of it took place back during the old territorial days. With, the rise of AEW and the competition with not just nationally, but international productions like New Japan, etc., to me, as a guy that grew up watching the territorial days as a young guy, it almost kind of feels like there's a new age territorial feel, even though these companies are international now, because AEW is doing it one way, WWE is doing it one way, New Japan is doing it one way. So there's a little something for everybody out there. Do you get that same vibe? And if so, what is it that is making AEW, rise to prominence the way that it has over the past few years?
Well, 3 years ago, you had really one option, WWE. For a few guys, you had Japan. That door was not kicked wide open. There was a few spots around there. But when Tony Khan put this AEW into play, and that was his dream, once he put this thing into play and it got rolling and he gave a bunch of guys a chance that weren't given a chance with the bigger companies, and it was a chance to prove themselves. And so now, in a pretty short time, we established ourselves as being a alternative. You've got, the other companies here, that Tony just bought, Ring of Honor, but he's going to leave that concept of Ring of Honor and their style of wrestling. He's probably going to leave that alone and let that operate for their fans. And it seems like when the wrestling business gets hot, it gets hot everywhere, and it helped the independent promoters. It just feels like AEW was the flashpoint, and everything kind of caught hold behind it, and it gave these wrestling fans a alternative to WWE, because it is sports entertainment. It is geared towards sports entertainment. If you like it, WWE, I say watch it. If you don't like it, cut it off. And that applies to us as well. If you don't like what we're putting out there, turn the channel. I hope you won't. I hope you'll give us a chance, because it is different. And like I said earlier, the main thing is our boss, Tony Khan, listens to you guys. If you put something on Twitter and it catches on, somebody is saying, Tony, listen to this. So I think that's the biggest benefit that we have to the wrestling business, and it feels like to me it's caught back up. And it's going to run for a while. Being stuck in the house for 2 years, as you know, guys, to a wrestling fan was a hard pill to swallow. And I knew when it opened back up, they were going to come out in droves, and they have, and we're very thankful for it.
By the way, I want to let everybody know that Arn will be appearing at South Carolina Comic-Con coming up Saturday and Sunday at the Greenville Convention Center. Come on out, get an autograph, shake his hand. Maybe he'll slap you I don't know if he'll do that or not. A lot of athletes out there, when they have kids, they kind of steer their children away from what they've done. When Brock decided that he wanted to be a wrestler, did that ever enter your mind, or were you just like, I'm going to teach him the right way because this is what he wants to do?
Yeah, you know what? He never said a word to me. You would think during his younger years, until he was about I think it might have been the summer before his senior year, and he said, Dad, just out of nowhere, he says, what do you think about that? And I don't even remember the subject matter, but it was like, it could have been a match that we're watching on TV or a promo or something. But he said, well, what did you think of that? And I said, well, why? He says, well, I've been watching a lot of stuff, a lot of tapes, which I never knew. Of course, I'm gone all the time. I wouldn't have known it. But he said, here's what I think, and he had a pretty intelligent answer. I said, well, so what's going on here? He said, how would you feel about me breaking into business? And when it comes from nowhere to a question that heavy, I said, well, let me think about that for a minute. I said, being the computer age and being the way things are today, I said, I'll tell you what, make a deal with you. You want to go to college, right? Well, yeah, I guess. I said, well, I tell you what, you graduate college, you get a degree to fall back on where you can make a living. And once you've graduated college, I'll help you. If you still want to be a wrestler, I'll help train you. Deal? He said deal. So he went to ECU, and he got his degree, and he's got something to fall back on. I was able to get him a developmental deal with AEW, and he's had about 16 matches that would be considered televised matches, whether they be on YouTube or Dynamite or whatever it was, which is not a lot. There's not a lot of chance these days to get those reps that we got going every day, twice on Saturday, twice on Sunday. But he's coming along well, and I think the fans, they have accepted him so far, and I wanted to thank the people of Columbia. That is the best he has been received anywhere he's been, and they were really kind to him that night. And when you're down there now and you're not listening, you're just hanging around ringside and you can hear everything that's said. You hear individual voices, and I just want to thank the people that were in Columbia because they were super, super supportive and super kind, and I appreciate it.
Arn Freaking Anderson joining us here on the Rob Brown Show and the Fan Upstate. He will be right here in the GVL this weekend, Saturday and Sunday at SC Comic-Con. You can still get tickets to SC Comic-Con by going to sccomiccon.com. You can also see Arn on All Elite Wrestling, Dynamite on Wednesday, Rampage on Friday evenings. Arn Anderson, it has been a pleasure, man. We are so glad to have had you on the show. It was a bucket list interview for Lonzo and I, and we appreciate you giving it to us, pal. Thank you very much.
Oh, thank you, guys. I look so forward to seeing everybody in Grable. Come down. Let's take a picture together. If you got a story, tell me. Can't wait to see you guys. That includes you two guys, too, now.
Listen, Arn, I don't know that you don't already know this. Lonzo and I have had this weekend cleared on our calendar for the better part of, I don't know, Lonzo, 12 months since last year?
Yeah, 12 months.
Yeah, so we'll 100% be there. It'll be a pleasure to meet you, my man. I cannot wait, and we will see you this weekend.
Thank you, guys. Appreciate y'all.
You got it. That is the legendary Arn Anderson, a Four Horsemen original, appearing here and only here on the Rob Brown Show, getting ready for SC Comic-Con. Lonzo, we just interviewed Arn Anderson.
Yeah, you know, this is it's so cool to interview the new wrestlers, but there's just something about interviewing someone from back in the day, like we talked about the family aspect of it. I know my papa was smiling down because I just got to talk to Arn Anderson.
Used to watch that dude with my old man. My dad used to tell me, do you want to know why everybody hates the Four Horsemen? Because Ric Flair is who we all want to be, and Arn Anderson is the guy to make sure it happens.
Again, Arn shows up.
It's business time.
It's not good for you.
Yeah.
It's not.
100%. Loved it. Thank you to Arn Anderson. Thanks to the folks over at SC Comic Con for setting that up. Tony Schiavone will be joining us later this week as well. As soon as we hammer that interview down, we will let you know. It's just Legendary Wrestlers Week. Oh, and by the way, there's one more name that may be joining us too.
Yeah, and all these names that may be joining us, well, you can join them at South Carolina Comic Con. Get your tickets, as Rob said, online, sccomiccon.com, or you can go to Borderlands Comics and Games and pick them up there. And the cool part about that is you can go ahead and get your wristband and you got it. You can even put it on now like 3 days before the thing starts.
Can we just end the show here? We can't do anything else that matches that, right? Let's take a break. We'll come back. We'll pretend like we're going to do Twitter trending topics next, or is that the end? I don't know where we are.
Yeah, that's the end of the show.
That's the end of the show.
End the show.
We're ending the show.
Yeah, because we just interviewed Arn Anderson.
That's a walk-off.
Yeah.
That's a walk-off shot, right? That's a walk-off shot. All right, kids. You guys have a great rest of your Tuesday. Lonzo and I will be back to entertain you further tomorrow morning. We appreciate you listening. Have a great rest of your day. This was the Rob Brown Show right here on the Fan Upstate. Later, brother. All right, stream. We'll see you guys back